So actually yesterday, like we have discussed about the history and the versions of Python, like when was started Python and what was the version. It was being released initially like 0.0.9, and then in 1994 1.0 version was released, and the major version was released in 2.0 with some of the new features like lambda, map, filter, and memory management. And also we have discussed about the pre-register language of Python. That means how the Python was started, and this Guido van Rossum. So when he actually started this Python program, all this stuff we have discussed. So actually the predecessor of Python language was ABC programming language. So ABC programming language as also, again, this is interactive and high level programming language for computations and calculations. And it was the language in 1970s. So at that time in 1970s, Guido was working as an implementer in using this program ABC, and he has identified some of the limitations in the ABC program, and he just wanted to remove those limitations, and he wanted to develop a new program, and hence he started in 1970 itself. So the born and brought up of Python, because of this ABC program limitations. And also we have discussed like ABC program, what it is, and what it is using this operating system. So ABC program actually using Amoeba operating system. It's a distributed operating system using a flip protocol. And that also one of the disadvantages of this ABC program, because that ABC program won't work on other operating systems. So there are some limitations which I discussed yesterday, like memory management and exception handling and platform dependency. So all these limitations having in ABC, Guido was, influenced to develop a new program called Python. And also why he has named Python, that also we have discussed in yesterday's class. So actually, he was watching one of the famous, the series which is telecasting in BBC channel, Monty Family Flying Circus, which is a mysterious and random and unpredictable series. So at the time when he's watching that series, and he thought of like giving similar kind of name to his programming language. That means no one should not predict my library or the program which is developing in Python, and also it should be very easy and short and unique format. Hence, he has given that name. Okay, that's what about yesterday class, Manoj. Let's start today. Is a Python environment setup today. So, are you seeing my screen, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, in order in order to become a Python developer, the first step is to learn how to install or update no Python program on your local machine. So the software requirements of installation of Python was, one is memory space minimum 5 GB, and second one is RAM space, this is 4 GB. And I think a processor, it may be Intel or AD architecture processor is enough, and 64-bit machine is enough for this Python. So there is no need in having more memory space or RAM, having more size like 8 GB, 16 GB kind of thing. It's because in the MB size, and you will have on your machine with these minimal settings like 5 GB space and 4 GB RAM. And coming to this environment setup, so as I said, if you wanted to install into your local machine, so we need to visit a website called python.org. That you can directly visit like www.python.org/downloads. So this is the website, official website, so where we have all versions of Python, and we will install the latest Python which is supporting on Windows, because we have different versions in this a website based on your platform. So the most up to date and current source code and binaries, all the documents, all the events, all this stuff is available in this website. If you go and visit this website, just copying this website, we go and look at this website. So you have all stuff here. It is having, the download stuff, and also it has a source code of this Python and binaries and documentation, news, etc. So it is available on the official website, this python.org, and you go to your downloads, and here you can see the binary stuff here. These are the binary stuff, and also you can see the earlier versions when those was released, and they release notes here. Sometimes your project, which is built in your old Python stuff, and you wanted to install old Python version, still you can install it here. That is one of the beauty in Python, because if you look at other programming languages, they won't give support for the deprecated or older versions, and they will say like end of the life cycle was so and so X date, and after that X date they won't support it. But when it comes to Python, you can get all the old version stuff here, and still you can go and get the old version based on your the work you are doing it. Okay, so all this stuff is available here, and you go just click on this download. So where it is going to give you your Python binary stuff here. As I said, it was MBs. It's not in like GB or TB or kind of thing. It only matter of MBs. Once it is done, it is going to download, and it will keep you in your download folder. So still it is coming. This is what exe it is coming when you start downloading it. And when you click on this, simply to install it in your local machine, and it is going to install now, and it is going to start installing the Python into your local machine. So here the beauty is, it is very easy even for installing and the setup of your Python environment into your local machine, as like how the program looks like using simple English keywords. So Python distribution is available, as I said, in variety of the platforms. Still, it supports different platforms. It supports different platforms like Windows, Unix, Macintosh, and other operating systems as well. But mainly these are the operating systems generally used to interact, Unix or Linux. So right now we are going to demonstrate this Python on Windows. Hence, you need to select binaries which are relevant to Windows platform. Once installed, so I think still it is being initializing, and it is looking for the requirement like memory and the RAM space by default, which is looking at your C drive of program files x86 based on your system configurations. So once it is installed, then you will simply go and search here like Python. Then it will show you the Python exe where it is being installed in your system. And if you have any older versions like 3.7 or 3.6, so those also will come and display here. So let's see like how it is going to display in your programs section here. So, so as I said, so if you want to become a complete Python developer, you should be aware of like how to install as well. So if you're just aware of like Python programming part, like operators and data types and programming and looking at libraries and modules and importing and writing a program, it's not about fully aware of in a Python. You should be aware of the environment as well, like how you're installing it and how you are interacting and how you are setting the system variables. So once this setup is done, environment setup, we'll be looking at the setting up of system environment variables, because programs and other execution files can be in many directories, like it may be in C drive or D drive or E drive. It all depends on the user selection, right? So if you wanted to run any exe or binary from any place, you need to, add system variables. So still it is in progress. Yeah. So now almost it is done. If you go on search here, Python, and it is displaying my 3.9 version as well here. This is 3.9 version which I have installed right now. And these are the earlier versions 3.7, so which I have because I'm working on Azure DevOps where I'm using 3.7 Python program files to build and deploy my code. So a similar way, if you have another versions as well, it is still displaying here what are all other versions you have in the system. So it's not going to override or it's not going to skip the older versions. Still, you can use any versions, multiple versions in your local system. So this is what currently we have installed 2.9, and you can see here open and run an administrator open file location pin start. And if you go and see here in C program files, and you'll see like where it is installed, that means you'll see the path as well. It seems this is 3.7, my 3.9 where it is installed. Nine. It is coming, but where it is installed, Python.
We can open the location, right? Open as open file location. And right click on it.
Yeah, coming that.
Will give any location.
So
Yeah.
it was in my user folder, it seems. So as I have already so other versions, I think it was in some different location it has chosen. So I think we still can choose change our installation directory. Click on this shortcut. So it is coming from my user locations. Anyhow, I think this is how it is being installed in your system. And as I have a older version, it seems it was installed in different path. So earlier I have 3.7. So it is installed in different location, it seems. So I need to uninstall this and then first install latest version and then old version, it seems, comes in this location. So once you install it, you just go to your command prompt and anywhere, but you have to go this here only. And here you have all these libraries and executable files, right? So if you go here, if I type here Python, then it is going to start looking at my exe and other stuff here, and even the commands and other stuff. But I don't want to be always in this folder, right? Sometimes I may be in different drive or different folder, and I wanted to run still my Python. Hence, we need to set up a path here, system environment variables called path variable, and we'll look at this how we are going to set up. So setting up a path, the command, this is the Windows command path, and in Windows it is path, and when it is in Unix and Linux, it was capital letter. So how we are going to set up this path? That way, like, as I said, like programs, like other executable files and binary files are available in different directories of different drives. So operating system provides such option um, into the path file where you mentioned the path, and it is looking into the path and it is going to execute your command. So for that, we need to set a system variable here. So the path is stored in environment variables. And if you look at here, simply coming here and type in the run command env, or you search here environment, it is going to display your environment variables, the package here. This is the window where we have system environment variables and user variables here. So we need to add our folder, Python folder here, so that it is going to run our executable files and binaries from anywhere in the system. So how we are going to set up this? If you look at here, path, and we have different paths. I have mentioned it already. And similar way, we need to add Python folder as well, so that it is looking at this particular path when you type a Python command or pip command or any pip ls command or any command which is related to Python. It is going to be verified in the list of paths mentioned in the system environment variable, and then search for that command, and then it is going to execute it. So now let's see like how we are going to add this system variable path using a command from the command line. So as I said, like once it is installed, then you will be knowing like where the Python was installed. In my case, this 3.7 was installed in this path. And if you wanted to set, just coming from exit and simply going back, and let us say like CMD. So this is actually a default path for me, user folder. And I wanted to set my Python folder path into a system variables. So there is a command called, path. And if you can mention your folder using path, then it is going to add your Python folder to system variable path variable. That means if I type here path, if you look at here, these are the paths already I have in the system variable. So these are the already available paths in my system. So if you wanted to set a path, like let us say path and specify path in percentage, that means it is fetching all path you are mentioned in the path variable here. These are paths. And for this, you need to add your Python folder. You just mention colon here. And in the next, you need to specify your Python folder. Let us say I wanted to give some, D drive Python 3.9. So this is my path. And if you give this Python folder path and press, it is going to add into this particular Python path environment variable list. If you press here, then it is added. Now go and see, just typing Python, it is adding here. Just look at here, it was added into my system environment variables. That means I can access from anywhere, because as I said, programs and other executable files can be in many directories or in different drives. So operating system provide is such path that lists the directories that the OS searches for exes. Basically, Python is a exe for us, it's not an DLL. Python, when I say Python, that is an exe for me. So I'm going to add that exe path here, so that my operating system will search this path system environment variables, and it looks for Python folder, and it looks for the command which you have typed. So again, the path is stored in and, as I said, environment variable, which is named string. So maintained by the OS. Okay, so as I said, a command was, path and percentage path you have to give it semicolon. Here, Python installed folder, you need to mention it here. So when you give this syntax in the command line prompt and press, this is going to add your path to your system environment variables. Now, so how I'm going to look at my Python is working or not. So just come out or clear this, and from here itself you can search. Let us say, like, when I say Python, it is going to enter into the inbuilt editor. We can say like interactive interpreter prompt. So this is one of the the inbuilt editor which is coming up from Python installation. Let us say this is one of the editor for beginners to start writing Python program. Let's come into the discussion part of this editor. I mean, the areas and the I can't say like editors because that is another topic. Editors. So interactive, the screens where you write program and execute programs. So in Python, we have two interactive screens. So running of Python. So in Python, we have two different ways to start Python. One is using interactive interpreter prompt. Interpreter prompt, that is what we have seen. That means still you can go and run your Python program. Another one is using a script file. This is another the area where you can still write your Python program and execute it. Let's look at first one. This is interactive interpreter. Prompt. So for this, I think this is the example. When you start Python typing and enter, it is entered into this editor. So this is enter into editor, and where you can use the area you write your program. Let us say like print, and still I can say hello. This is going to execute when I press enter key here. But thing is, this is always executing one line of code here. And if you want to write multiple lines also, you can write it. Let us say like if 5 greater than 10 colon, and when I say print, 5 is a big one, and else print 10 is big one. This way I need to write. So if you want to execute these 3 lines of code, so I wanted to consider only this bit of stuff. So you need to press again enter. Now it is executed and shown here the output. So little bit it is harder for any developer to write multi lines. Instead of single line, it is fine. Go and check how a single line of code is executing for the beginners. But when you go into deeper or going into next levels, it is little bit more difficult for the developer to write multi-line statements here. So Python, provides excellent features. That's fine. So when you type Python statement, and it is going to enter into interactive prompt, so where you write your program. Basically, it is preferable for the beginners where they can write single line of code and they can execute it. Okay. And coming to the next one, so this is only for beginners to write program with a single line of statements. So it is preferable in the case where we are concerned about the the concern about the output of each line of Python program. That means if you wanted to execute and see each line's output, then it is preferable this interactive interpreter prompt. Okay, but as I said, no, still it is allowing even multi-lines also. But I don't see as a nice place where you can write multi-line program and execute it. Hence, we definitely go for a second way of writing a program, that is using a script file. So how this is look like, and how we are going to write a program in a script file. So as I mentioned, so interpreted prompt based is only for executing a line of code. So here we can write multi-lines. So using a script file, we can write multiple lines into a file. So that is how we are calling using a script file. So we are going to write multi-lines into a file, which can be executed later or immediately. So for this purpose, we need to open an editor, uh, like Notepad, how we are using Notepad plus plus, etc. This looks like Notepad and Notepad plus plus, and where you can write your program and create a file and save it with the .py extension. So all Python program script files are having a py extension, so that the Python command will recognize the file was a Python related, and it is going to execute your source code into binary stuff. So for Python, I think we need to use this command. Uh, so syntax, if you look at when you are in some path, you need to type Python, and here your file name dot extension. It has to provide like this and press enter, so that this Python command will uh, identify or recognize this extension of file, and it is going to execute the source code into a binary. Okay, now let's get into reality. So how I'm going to enter into the script file mode. So when you install this Python, okay, so you will type here, when I type here Python, you will see here IDLE. This is the integrated development, learning environment. This is what a script file editor. When I press here, it is opening script file editor, where I can write multi lines of code and save into file and execute that file in the later part of the program development, or you can immediately execute it here itself. So this is what the shell editor, and here you can create new file. Let us say new file here. I'm going to write some program right now, simple program. When you are not aware of Python related editors like Visual Studio Code or PyCharm or Eclipse, and when you are a starting developer, then you need to open Notepad. This is what the basic software and application everyone is using to write any program. either Java or C or C++ or .NET. Similar way, Python also we are writing here. So I'm just writing, the name. So Ramana, and let us say like another variable demo class Python, and the timings. This is also a variable for me. Let us say like 7 a.m. So once I declare my variable, I'm just printing something like uh, my name is something like this, and comma. If you wanted to give dynamic value, and you need to give a comma here. If you look at here, it is showing syntax as well, because I came up from script file, right? This from where this is the starting point where I came to here. But if you open general notepad, so this is also notepad, right? So when I say here, it doesn't give me any syntax for me, right? Because it's a simple notepad file I opened here. But here, as I said, this is also notepad file. It came from this screen. So it's not similar to notepad file, but it looks like notepad file. So here, when I say comma, or started printing using some, this is the built-in function, right? When I say print, it is showing me the syntax. What it is saying is here value comma and so value comma, and this is some variable, and this is something end statement if you wanted to display a new line or something. And if you wanted to use some files related stuff, you can use still these variables. This is how it is displaying even if you use anything. Let us say if I use another input command like input, this is also a command. When I say this, it is showing me syntax. So no need to remember all the commands and function syntax in Python. It is kind of intelligence. So like in Visual Basic and .NET, so how it is giving intelligence feature when use an built-in assembly or class or method. Similar way it is displaying it. So here I'm just was displaying my string as my name is, and comma I wanted to display dynamic value from this variable. And similar way, print um, demo class is demo class. Okay. And similar way, print timings was timings. So when you done your program, just go to here and save your file. So let us say like saving with Py extension. So I'm saving this file into D drive. Some let us say like this is the D drive. I'm saving as uh, demo.py or sample, Python dot py. So it was saved in this path. Okay, this path also displaying here. And after completing of this, and just close this, and you simply close this also and go to your command prompt, and coming out from your program, and just give Python, and your sample program was something like this, but it is not going to recognize your file because it was a different path. And you just give the path, complete path, D drive sample Python. Now it is executed. So this is how we are going to execute a multi-line Python program using a script file. So instead of running a single line program from the interpreter prompt, and you can write multi-line program using the script file editor, and you can run the script file using a Python command. So these are all two ways of having running your Python program. But definitely we wanted to understand. So what are the pros and cons of this script file? If you look at pros, I mean advantages of this having a script file concept. So the script file, the script mode has a few advantages, and also have disadvantages. Hence, we're going for different editors like Visual Studio Coder and PyCharm. Okay, but we wanted to know like what are all the advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so let's understand the, below, the pros and cons. Coming to the pros, one thing is we can run multi-line Python program. That's fine. We have seen that. And second one is debugging of a program is very easy in script mode. And coming to the third one, it is appropriate for beginners, not for experienced persons or real-time persons, and also for the middle level, the developers. So these are some pros, but when it comes to cons or disadvantages, the things are we have to save the code every time. I don't want to save every time, right? I wanted to run whatever program writing on the editor. I just wanted to simply run it. But in this case, we have to save the code every time. If you make any change in the code. And second thing is it can be tedious actually, because I wanted to open a script file mode and I wanted to choose create a file, and then it is opening another window. It is a tedious job for me when we run a single or a few lines of code. So because every time opening of script file mode and there selecting of new file, and there again it is opening a different window, and there you're writing a program and saving, and again coming back and running from the command prompt or the Python prompt. It's something involves different steps for me to run my Python program that become very tedious for me. And because of that, so uh, we are approaching different editors instead of using inbuilt editors like these two editors like interactive interpreter and script file editors. And as I said, we have three different editors. Basically, we are using it. And then before getting to this, we'll look at this basic syntax of Python. So, what is the basic syntax of this Python starts? So, as I said, Python was indentation a style format. So, indentation was the main formatting style in Python program. So, indentation and comments also you can learn about it, but indentation NIV is the first one basically. Is the most significant feature. Or if you look at any program and if you see and observe indentation is having it, then you will recognize that the program was written in the Python. This is what the most significant concept of the Python program. So if you are not having proper indentation, then it is going to throw an error saying that indentation error. That means improper usage or use of indentation will ends up the error called indentation error. So we should be more precautious about the code when you write a Python program. Indentation is must. So again, as I said, indentation is nothing but adding a white space before the statement when it is needed. So without indentation, Python doesn't know like which statement is to be executed or the compile and run into an output, display output on the output screen. So as I said, like, so we should give a white space for each and every statement. If there is no indentation, again, improper indentation, it will display indentation error. Hence, it is always advised for any Python developer to know about how to give an indentation. So how to give a white space. When you look at editors, what I said, like some of the editors, those editors will automatically add indentation when you write a program. But when it comes to your this above discussed editors, you need to give a white space. So they does not add automatically indentation. That is what one of the thing we need to look at here, these editors. Okay. So coming to this indentation part, this is one of the basic syntax everybody should aware of it when you start writing a program. That's why I'm just a stressing point here. Indentation is the must to know like how to write a program, and improper indentation is causing errors initially when you run Python program. This is what the basic syntax you should learn about a Python program. I'll leave about other areas. Those areas will come under different ways, and we are hearing about those topics in different programming languages. But indentation is the main concept here, the Python. So again, when you talk about commands, so if you wanted to comment any program line, so to comment a single line, so we are going to use hash symbol here. And unfortunately, we don't have to comment multiple lines with a different symbol. Even to comment multiple lines, also we need to use hash. So, what is the need of comments? In the sense, comments are actually essential for defining the code, like what the code is going to do and how it is going to execute it. Okay. So if you can understand about these two areas, and it is very easy for you to write a program, and it is very simple for you to write a program. If you look at a program part which we have written, this thing, go and look at this Python program what we have written earlier. If you are not giving a proper indentation, then it is going to give a proper indentation error. Let us say like I have a function. Let us simply declare a function. Let us say like def the sum function like this. And when I write, I have to give a white space here. Print sum function was started. And then here I'm writing another condition, if condition here. Let us say like 5 greater than 10. This is one of the condition. And here I need to give print and saying 5 is the big one. And here, and I can say print 10 is a big one. So always you need to give indentation. So coming here, finally I say some function ended. So this is how I am going to write my program. So this is the function I used indentation. So if you look at Python interpreter visualization, how it looks like is code first block one, whatever block one is begins. For me here, this is the code block one. And then just explaining visualization part of how interpreter is executing. Then code block 2 continues. Here code block 2 is this one. And again here code block 3. That means the print of 5 is big and 10 is big. Begins. And here code block 2 again continues because else part. And here code block 3 continues. And then last here code block 1 continues. So this is how a program is executing by interpreter. First one is this one is executing block 1, and then come to here block 2, and it is continuing block 3 and coming back to block 2 and continues block 3 and again coming back to block 2 and coming back to the block 1. This is how interpreter was visualizing the program based on indentation. This is what my indentation here, and this is my indentation, and this is my indentation. So let's look into this in editors, because if you go and see here editors, as I said, I will talk about this in tomorrow session, like how editors are going to work and how it is going to add automatically indentation. Then it is very easy for us as a developer, because instead of writing in notepad. So we'll talk about more on this in coming session. That means if you just open this one, some program here, I no need to worry about indentation part here. This is the Visual Studio Code we generally use. If I say like 5 greater than 10, when I give a colon here and press, it is automatically adding indentation here. I don't need to give an indentation again here. Let us say print, and again it goes to back, else colon enter, again it is giving indentation. So we talk about more on these editors in tomorrow's session. So I hope so I have finished today's session and just sharing and stopping my sharing. Let me know if you have any doubts, please, in this.
Yeah, I understand. But one, simple question. So the Visual Studio you opened the IDE, is it from Microsoft, or is it the same one?
IDLE you were talking about, Manoj?
No, not the inbuilt one. You just
This
open.
one, this one. Yeah, it was Microsoft. Yeah, it was
Oh, this
Microsoft.
is
Yeah, it is
okay.
Microsoft Visual Studio Coder. I know proprietary, belongs to Microsoft Corporation.
Okay. So is it come defaults, or do I need to install it?
No, we need to install it. We'll talk about more on this tomorrow, like how we are going to get these editors and how we are going to write a program in this. Like there are other editors also, PyCharm and Eclipse. So we'll talk about what is having what advantage and what disadvantage. Basically, these are all open sources, and we can still go and get it.
Sure, sure. And we are installing 3.96 Python.
Right. So that is what the latest
Using this.
binary of Python.
Then we are using this Visual
Right.
Studio. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it from class side, but I have a question. What is the schedule? Like Krishna said, there is no class on Sunday. Like, what is your schedule?
Last Sunday you were talking about, or this coming Sunday?
Like last Sunday, yesterday Sunday night. I mean, that's your Monday morning class.
So he's saying